What's going on, people? It's your boy Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday to all of you people who celebrate. I know a lot of y'all probably don't. I don't. Mondays get on my damn nerves. But anyway, we are here. Uh, if you're new to the channel, press subscribe right there in the button area of the TV. You know what I'm saying? Of the screen. You know what I'm saying? I'm all over the place right now, so I'm very tired. I got like 4 hours of sleep last night. But anyway, press subscribe. Please like a comment. Tell your friends, tell a friend to get in tune with everything we're doing over here on the channel, man. It's Scott's World of Sports. Got a lot to get into this week. Gonna do a lot of stuff. I got an episode of Soccer for Dummies that I'm recording right after this that I will be dropping probably tomorrow. I don't know if I want to do two drops in one day, so I might just drop this today and that tomorrow. So I would say expect it tomorrow. I think tomorrow probably better. Tomorrow probably better to drop it. But anyway, man, we're gonna recap what happened this past weekend in the NBA playoffs. Of course, follow me at Barbara Scott, all social media platforms. Let's just get into it, man. The NBA playoffs started on Saturday, man. I gotta say, I know a lot of people was upset about playoff games being on streaming networks, and that's been the big beef with a lot of sports fans, not just on Twitter and things like that, but I've even had conversations with people in real life about it. Y'all know my thoughts on it. I've been screaming from the mountaintops for about 3 years now. This is going to happen. A lot of people told me I was crazy 3 years ago, and here we are. We had a whole full playoff set. Um, Not a whole full playoff set, but out of the what was it, 8 games this past Sunday and this past weekend, 6 of the 8 games were on Peacock. So it was all streaming. But anyway, this weekend, I would say y'all know my thoughts on the NBA regular season. I felt like the regular season product is falling off tremendously, but I really feel like the last couple years, the playoffs been really, really good. Now, this weekend, in my opinion, was not. I mean, you had a couple games that were, in the balance in the end of the, around, mid to late fourth quarter. I mean, you had Minnesota and Denver that was like that. There was a couple moments like that in the Detroit Orlando game and in the San Antonio Portland game. But overall, I thought this weekend was pretty boring. I thought it was pretty boring. I think the number one lesson to take from this weekend is that the top seeds look like the top seeds. I mean, they all came out and improved and showed why they were the seed they were. The first game of the weekend was Cavaliers Raptors, or as I call it, the Peacock series, because we can no longer call them NBA TV series anymore, since NBA TV really isn't a thing. But you had Donovan Mitchell came out, had a good game. They won 126, 113. And actually, the game wasn't even as close as that score showed. They had a pretty healthy lead throughout. I think the one thing that stood out to me about this game was Cleveland looked pretty good, like a well-oiled machine, especially with James Harden in that lineup. Now y'all know how I feel about James Harden. Y'all know how most people feel about James Harden. I am not buying the game one shenanigans that you go, oh well, this team can go forward with James Harden. We all know who James Harden is. Eventually, the real James Harden will show up. It's just a matter of time. This series here, this is a series to me where if I'm Cleveland, I want to take care of this right away. If you're Cleveland and you spent all this money on Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna have to spend money on James Harden if you want to keep him beyond this year. Of course, Evan Mobley's contract and things like that. You want to see if you can make it at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I would want to wrap this series up as quick as possible before I have to play. Um, they would have to play the Boston. No, they would have to play probably Detroit if Detroit gets in past from Orlando. We'll talk about it in a minute. But overall, thought it was a good showing for Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell did his thing, so that's what I felt about that. Timberwolves Nuggets. This was a series the series I was the most excited for coming into this playoffs. These two teams have had kind of like a mini rivalry over the last couple of years. They've met the last 2 years in the playoffs. With I think they split. They split over the last couple of years. Denver won one, of course. Uh, Minnesota won a couple years ago to get to the Western Finals. So, this one, I think what you really saw is just how much Denver has really been coming into form lately, as we saw towards the end of the season. Now that everybody is finally healthy, you're really seeing all the options they had. And just Joker is getting to a point right now where we take his greatness for granted. I feel like that always happens when you have a great player who's just consistently great. Like, of course, obviously, Michael Jordan have a game when he has only 25 points, and people are like, oh, that was an average Michael Jordan game. Having with Kobe Bryant. It's been happening with LeBron before he turned old. Now we celebrate every little thing he did. Rightfully so. Not gonna say that's not what we shouldn't do. But same thing with Steph Curry. And I just feel like we're getting to the point where we expect Joker to just go out there and drop triple doubles. I mean, this season he's had is just crazy. To have a center lead the league in rebounds and assists by a wide margin, and to go to all the points he gives you, that's why I personally think that he probably should be MVP. And of course, the MVP finalists came out this weekend as well. Joker was nominated again with the current reigning MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and of course Victor Wembanyama. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to be an interesting MVP vote for the guys who do have that vote. But Minnesota tried to stay in it. I think Minnesota right now is in an interesting situation because I think it's going to get very interesting over the next year about Anthony Edwards and what his long-term future is going to be about. Haven't heard anything about him not liking it in Minnesota, that he wants to get out or anything like that. But when you've been to the last two conference finals like the Minnesota Timberwolves have been, the natural next step in that progression is making the NBA Finals. Now, I don't have them making the NBA Finals. I'm pretty sure you don't have them making the NBA Finals. So I do believe a conversation needs to be had. But in the meantime, you're going to have as deep of a playoff run as you can get. And I think playing a team like Denver is the worst the worst first round opponent they could have possibly had. Now, obviously, I don't think this series is over by a long shot. I do think this will be a competitive series. I do think it will go at least 6 games. And I expect Anthony Edwards to get his team back in this series. And this was a competitive game for the most part, to mid fourth quarter when Jamal Murray started doing Jamal Murray things and they were able to close that thing up. And I think what you see in the last 2 years from the Nuggets, what they didn't have was the depth that they had on that championship team. They have that back. And I think that's why they're going to be a big threat in this playoffs. But good start for Denver in this one. Let's go to Knicks Hawks. Knicks Hawks. This was an interesting game for me because I said this is going to be a series that the Knicks could lose if they weren't on their shit pretty much. And I think the way they came out in this one was perfect. Actually, this is exactly the way you want to come out against a team as scrappy and the team that has nothing to lose like the Atlanta Hawks. Karl Towns was amazing, 25 points, 8 rebounds. And, really stepped up and showed why they traded for him a year ago. Now, of course, the issue with Cat is never performances like this. These are the performances you want from Cat. These performances you need from Cat. The problem with Cat is the consistency and the attention to defense that he rarely gives. But today was a good day. I mean, Saturday was a good day. Of course, you got Jalen Brunson. Brunson came in with 28 points, and they really had a good team showing. OG Anunoby, 18 points, 8 rebounds. You had Josh Hart, 11 points. 14 rebounds, too, which is a big thing for them as well. And they got some good contributions from the bench. Also with Jordan Clarkson. And then you also had Miles McBride came in with 6 points off the bench. I think Atlanta, this series is far from over. I think if Atlanta can find a way to win game 2, then I feel really good about their chances of making this a long series. Now, I picked Knicks in 5 a couple days ago, and I said it would be a very competitive 5. I'm sticking with that. I think the Knicks have the most pressure at any team in the NBA playoffs right now, just because the last couple of years it was a nice story. The Knicks are back in the playoffs. The Garden is back alive. The NBA is just better when the Knicks are good. As much as I hate to admit that because I can't stand the Knicks, but it's true. Now it's like, this team has invested all this money. It's the same thing kind of what I was saying with Minnesota, where now it's put up a shut-up time. You made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, lost to Indiana. Can you make it back this year? Now, obviously, the thing is they would have to play Boston in the second round and both do advance. They did beat Boston last year, but the problem was, which was funny about that series, and even funny even now that I just went through this past Chicago Bears season, the Bears did the same thing. They were getting pummeled in almost all of those games that they won, but they kept coming back and kept winning. I don't think that's going to fly this year. But for me, if I'm a Knicks fan, if I'm the Knicks, if I'm Mike Brown, I want to get rid of the Atlanta Hawks as quick as possible. Don't want this series to stretch. Don't want anybody to have any time to get any unnecessary injuries because you're going to need to be at full strength if and when you do play the Boston Celtics. But I thought this was a really good showing for them. And the Knicks are real good at the Garden. That's the thing. If you're going to beat the Knicks, you're going to have to win at the Garden, which is an extremely tough place to win at. And That should be the goal for Atlanta. Let's see if we can steal one tonight, game 2, before we head to Atlanta, because it's going to be rocking in the A. They've got, I think that the Atlanta not the Atlanta Falcons, but the Atlanta Hawks have a very underrated fan base where, they always show. I got a lot of homies in Atlanta. They're always at Hawks games. They got a real dope atmosphere. And during the playoffs, especially, even over the last 10, 15 years, it is a Rockets environment. So if you're the Knicks, you want to go into that arena over the weekend with a 2-0 lead. You don't want to go in there having to have the balance of what the series is going to be going in there. So real good start for them. Lakers Rockets. I was disappointed with this because Kevin Durant was injured and did not play the game, which is a last minute thing. We got like a couple hours before tip off. I don't know if he injured it in warm ups. I saw a video this morning of him warming up before the game and then looking like he was in pain and he was around some trainers. That's not good. That's not good. Now, here's the thing. You can't cry for the Rockets because the Lakers are missing a lot of their guys, too. Lakers do not have Luka Doncic. Lakers do not have Austin Reeves with their number 1 and number 2 scoring leaders this season. So the playing field has kind of been leveled a little bit. And I think LeBron did a great job. Wasn't vintage LeBron. And I think we're at the point in LeBron's career when you get these kind of stats where, you got 19 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals. That's awesome for a guy his age. And with those 8 assists, I think like 6 of them came in the first quarter. So he really was passing them out real early. But that's the kind of performance you're going to see from LeBron. I don't think you're going to see the 35, the 28 points, 35-point type performances in the playoffs that were so used from LeBron because of his age. And honestly, he's got to conserve his energy because you're playing every couple days now. And now he's out there by himself, which looks like it's probably going to be for the duration of this playoff run, depending on how far they can go. The further they can go, then it gives them the more chance to get a Luka back, to get a Austin Reeves back, and then that really helped them. But the story here is Luke Kennard, 27 points, 5 for 5 on the three-point line. He was incredible. They needed that big boost. And honestly, I thought Houston played pretty well for the situation that they were in. Jalen Smith, he had a good game. Amen Thompson had a good game. Jabari Smith, not Jalen Smith, my bad. There's so many J's in the NBA. But it just really comes down to this. Playoff time, you need your stars. If Kevin Durant plays this game, I think the Rockets win this game. And if you're the Lakers right now, if Kevin Durant misses game 2 tomorrow, you got a real good chance of winning this series. Now, I don't know exactly what the injury is. They just said the knee injury. We don't know the severity of it. Hopefully it comes back soon because just as a neutral, I want to see these two go at it one last time. I don't want to see Jabari Smith versus LeBron. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what any of us signed up for. So I really want KD to get back as soon as possible. But I think that was a pretty good game 1 showing for the Lakers. And, man, I think that's where you want to build that and take advantage of every second that Kevin Durant isn't out there. So good for them. Let's go to Sunday. Sunday, this was a funny game because I didn't tune into Celtics Sixers to like halftime because Arsenal decided to ruin my morning, but I'll talk about that on Soccer for Dummies. But this was just a straight up blowout. This was a blowout from the first quarter. 123-91 final score. You had the Philadelphia 76ers who coming off that play-in win over the Orlando Magic and had their fans chanting, "We won Boston." And it was very funny when the clock was running down the last minute of this game, you had the Boston Celtic fans yelling, "We won Boston," trolling Sixers fans. There's not much to say about this outside of the league should be very scared because Jason Tatum is playing so much better post-injury than anybody could have guessed. I don't even think he thought he was going to come out this good. 25 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. And just the way that the Celtics have managed him since he's come back from that injury almost 2 months ago now has been amazing. Doesn't look like he's had any after effects. He hasn't missed any games because of swelling or anything like that. And let's hope that stays what it is. But you got Jaylen Brown coming in, 26 points. I think the biggest thing for them is what we didn't see last year because, I don't know, championship hangover, whatever, is since they got the championship monkey on their back, they've been clicking on a level that we all wanted them to. And for the league, if they can come out when a year that a lot of people thought they was going to regress because of Tatum and win the NBA championship, we're gonna have to start to have some conversations, man. But this was an amazing start. They played great defense. They did what they needed to do. And I really think that they want to get this series over as quick as possible because they want to get some revenge on the New York Knicks for the way last year played out. But this was a great start for the Celtics. They are my pick to win the whole thing, and I feel really good about this. Granted, it's just Philadelphia 76ers, but you always want to start strong in the playoffs. And let's go to the other number, other top seed, the other team that I have who will be in the NBA Finals. That is the reigning NBA champion, Oklahoma City Thunder. They won 119-84 over the eighth-seeded Phoenix Suns, who beat the Golden State Warriors over the weekend, and possibly might be the last time we see that Warriors trio of Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, and Draymond Green. I mean, you saw the embrace they had on the side of the court as the clock was coming down, and microphones picked up what Steve Kerr was saying, it was a pleasure to coach you guys over these last, 12 years now, 12, 13 years now. It kind of felt like a swan song. I don't know if this means that Draymond's going to get traded, that Steph might want to get traded, or that Steve Kerr's going to retire, step down as coach. Who knows what this means right now, but it definitely felt like they were officially closing the door on a chapter. But Phoenix Suns didn't give much of a fight. This game was over pretty much from the start. Last year, the Thunder opened up their playoffs with a 51-point rout of the Memphis Grizzlies, and they pretty much did the same here today. J Dub had an amazing game. He's been injury prone all season, but it was really good to see him out there getting it going. He had 22.7 rebounds, 6 assists, and of course, Shea. We talking about performances that we're just getting accustomed to. I think we're getting accustomed to Shea's greatness and the things that he's doing. He had a smooth 25-7 yesterday with 2 blocks. And it's just like, Shea doing Shea things. And it was just an overall team win here. And it just kind of goes with the theme of this weekend, where the top seeds came out prepared, did not play with their food, and were able to get the job done before the fourth quarter even started. So this was a great start for them. I think Phoenix, if they're lucky, they'll grab a game, but they just don't have the talent to be going up against such a well-oiled machine in the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if you're a Thunder fan, you got to be buzzing because, I was thinking about championship windows this past weekend and in sports in general. And it just made me think about, about 12 years ago, not 12, 14 years ago when the Thunder win the finals. You had KD, you had James Harden, you had Russell Westbrook. You thought these three are going to be together forever, and they weren't. All 3 of them went on to win MVP separately. Only KD won championships, but you thought that was going to be the beginning. When you got rid of KD, it kind of felt like where do we go from here? Now it took about 5 years before they were able to start really building again. But to see what the Oklahoma City Thunder is right now, I think is the blueprint for how a lot of NBA teams are going to start to build. Great trades, making sure you hit a home run on your draft picks, and then sign good free agents when you can. And there's something about the art of winning. And once a team knows how to win, that never goes away. And that doesn't mean you're going to win championships every year, but it does mean you know how to win. And you can see now for sure the Oklahoma City Thunder know how to win games. The Boston Celtics, after winning the title 2 years ago, they know how to win games now. And even if you look at how, even though they got eliminated this past weekend, just how the Golden State Warriors even came to be in that second play-in game with the way they methodically walked down the Los Angeles Clippers, because they know how to win. And once you know how to win, it gets a lot easier. And that goes on to the next team I want to talk about, the Detroit Pistons. They lost 112-101 to the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic won the east side of the play-in tournament. And this goes back to my learning how to win. The Pistons are a team that's got to learn how to win. This is only their second year back in the playoffs. After that long drought they had last year, they gave the New York Knicks competitive 6-game series. This year, they finished with the number 1 record in the Eastern Conference, and I think the number 2 record in all the NBA in general. And it's a different thing when the playoffs start. And I think that when you have a team that's young and they had a great regular season, I always advise you to temper your expectations because the playoffs is a different game. And that's what we saw yesterday. The Orlando Magic got a lot of vets. The Orlando Magic been in the playoffs the last couple of years. They're not intimidated by this young team. Now, I don't think the Pistons played bad. I mean, Cade had a great game. But this is something where the Magic came in with a mission and were able to snuff out that energy from that Detroit crowd very, very early. Now, I don't think the series is over. I still don't think Orlando is going to win this series. But they can make this a lot more interesting than Detroit wants for a first-round series. And if they win this one, they're gonna have to probably go up against a veteran team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's gonna pose some challenges too. As much as I don't think Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are anything to be afraid about, that's gonna pose them a challenge. So it's all in the learning process and learning how to win. And I do believe a tougher series right here is gonna show the Pistons a thing or two about how to play in the playoffs as a favorite, opposed to last year when nobody expected anything from them. We're gonna wrap this up with San Antonio Spurs. By the way, shout out to the Spurs. I love the color rush thing in the crowd with the old school Spurs colors. Some of the crowd had pink, some of the crowd had baby blue, some of the crowd had brown. It was a nice color scheme. They had the throwback jerseys. It was good to see all the Spurs legends there. I'm glad to see Pop walking around, man. After having a stroke, good to see him moving around. And hearing that Tim Duncan's been in the gym with him every day. That's just a beautiful thing to hear about, because when you see these relationships with these coaches and the players, it's more than just coach player. These are lifelong relationships you form a lot of time. And to see Tim Duncan there for his old coach, I think was great. Tim Duncan was there. The Admiral, David Robinson was there as well. Manu Ginobili was there. A lot of the Spurs legends from the championship years were there. And boy, did Victor Wembanyama put on a performance for those legends. I did think he said something in the press conference, the post-game press conference, that stood out to me, where they asked him, like, is there pressure to perform in front of all these different franchise greats for the Spurs? He was like, no, it's no pressure. In fact, it feels warm. He said, I know that if I fall or if we fall or stumble, that there's going to be some legends here who's won before to pick us up and show us where to go. And I feel like the best franchises keep the legends around and they have that presence. And that was dope to see. And boy, did Victor Wembanyama make David Robinson and Tim Duncan proud as he set a Spurs playoff debut record with 35 points, breaking Tim Duncan's record. I don't even know what else to say about this dude. 5 rebounds. He was tremendous from three. It was just an overall good team win as well. De'Aaron Fox putting in 17 points on the bench. Not off the bench, putting in 17 points. Stephon Castle was great from the 3-point line. 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. They was just a real team. That's the number one thing I think kind of stood out to me this weekend. The team was not just one guy just being individually great. As great as Wemby was in this game, you had other guys chipping in and making it a real team effort. Now, I still think that the Spurs, they're going to have to learn the same way I said the Detroit Pistons are going to learn. And I don't think the series is going to be easy for them. Portland, credit to them. Credit to Thiago Splitter. They fought until the final buzzer. They did not give up on this game. And I don't believe they're going to give up on this series. So that's going to be interesting to see as well. Overall, I thought it was a boring weekend. I did. Like, as far as the quality of the games, I wanted some more exciting games. I'm not shit. I'm not doing the fuck the NBA thing. No, I just thought it was not the best weekend as far as entertainment value. There was a lot of games I turned off or put it in the background or threw it on my iPad and watched something else. But first games of fillers, maybe things be different tonight, so we'll see how that goes, man. But that is my recap on the opening weekend of the NBA playoffs. Of course, we will be back on Friday on the live show, and we'll keep you up to date with everything going on in the NBA playoffs as well. So that is all I got for y'all. Please like, please subscribe, let your people know everything we're doing here at Scott's World of Sports. And I will holler at y'all when I holler at y'all. I'm out.